the powerhouses of the global corporate stage. This is one that has been one of the most requested interviews. I heard it. You all asked for it. And I have one of the best software engineers here. He is one of my friends. He is truly, y'all, a powerhouse. And you all know what a powerhouse is. A powerhouse is someone who is dynamic, effective, and unstoppable in achieving success. And when I had the honor of working with Abdullah, I just knew exactly what he was. He was truly a powerhouse. He was a part of my small but mighty team. And I have just been so honored to just see his success from starting at Facebook to now being on the Instagram side. So welcome, Abdullah. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm doing great. I'm doing great, lovely. Yeah. And speaking to another powerhouse as such as yourself. So yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah. So, could you please just tell everyone like the most requested question because you all have been asking. I told you all that I would have a special guest who is a software engineer. Not only is he a software engineer, but he is a mobile engineer. And y'all, I can't just brag enough about this guy. Like he literally, he's like, he literally, so we needed iOS, and that was like one of the things that we needed a strong suit on for an amazing product that we were building. So he took the courses himself and like did the necessary things to learn. So people are wanting to know like what can they do to prep for a FAANG interview. And as you know, FAANG is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. What did you do to prep to become a software engineer for Instagram, but ultimately starting at Facebook?
Yeah. I think definitely it's a great question. It's an important question. I think given, I can give a bit of context on my background. Like I was at a different company before, Facebook. I was working at General Dynamics. I was doing mobile app development there. But prior to that, I had interviewed for FANG like 15, 20 interviews. I had interviewed at Google, Twitter, LinkedIn,
Wait a
Facebook,
minute. You
and I
did
had
15 interviews?
yeah, and but the thing is,
Wow.
before this, I had gotten rejected and I had failed all of those interviews. And it was the reason I had failed is because of the way that I was studying for these interviews. So I really had to like look back and understand, when I got this opportunity for this interview, I had to really look back like, okay, am I studying correctly for these interviews? Now, I think a lot of people what they do is they go in and they're like, okay, I know these interviews have lead code problems. If you're not familiar, lead code is like it's problems that a lot of these FANG companies they ask. Leadcode.com is where all these problems you can find. A lot of people, and what I was doing, the way that they study is like, okay, I'm going to do a whole bunch of lead code problems, and that's how I'll prep. So, and this is what I did too. I would go in and be like, okay, I'll try to do 3 problems today. I would go in and try to do those 3 problems. I'd spend an hour, 2 hours on each one of those problems, and they wouldn't even be the right solution for those problems. So it's like now I spent 4 or 5 hours doing problems that I didn't even get the right solution to, and I didn't even get done. So that was something that like I was like, okay, how do I fix this so I can get through a whole bunch of problems? So then I built like a system so that I could get through a lot of problems, understand what I'm going to be coding, and then really crush the interview. So the system is essentially you go through a problem, like let's say you start with a problem. If you can't logically figure out the solution within the first 10 minutes, like you should time yourself 5 to 10 minutes. If you can't get it in the first 10 minutes, look up the solution because they're all out there. There's YouTube videos of people, explaining solutions of all the different problems. Look up the solution, really understand it, write down the solution, go through it that way, and then do the problem. Like then, go through the problem, write down the solution, and explain the solution. That way, within 15, 20 minutes, when you've got the solution, you've understood it, you've gone through one problem. And that way, I was able to get through 10, 15 problems a day. And the more you do that,
Wow.
yeah, and the more you do that over a week, over 2 weeks, usually
Yeah,
that's the time period of when you have from like you
yeah.
when you get told you have an interview and to the time of the interview, you can get through so many problems. So that way, I was able to get through 100 problems before my first round, and I understood all of the solutions. And
Yeah, and this was after you were, rejected. Like, so, and for those of you all who want to know, like, hey, I want to get to FAANG, I want to get to the Googles, the Amazon, the Apples. I see all these amazing people, and I know I can do it. The problem is like what Abdullah and I are like not sharing. It's a 1 year process. So when you get
mm,
rejected, many of these companies, they make you wait 1 full year. You have to study, you have to prep, and then you can come back and be a part of the interview. And that, to me, that's what I did. So you said 100 problems. I did over 200 practice interviews to be a product manager, because for us, for product managers, it's like one product managers to like 18 different software engineers. We were truly like such an
right.
elite group. We were very, very small. And so I was like, I'm going to get in. The first time, I don't have a year to wait. I need to make over $500,000 now. Like, I want to go, I want to go all these places. So, wow,
Yeah.
100. And then you
Yeah.
were like rejected. So did you apply for like other companies too the second time, or did you only just focus on Facebook?
So yeah, well, like I said, like I had done a lot of those interviews and failed, and then like a year or two later is when I got reached out to via LinkedIn from a recruiter, and so that was when I were
Shout
like,
out to the recruiter at LinkedIn.
yeah,
With me.
yeah.
I love
Honestly, they change lives, you know what I mean? Like they to give people opportunities like this, and that's the hardest part about these, right? It's like getting the interview, because once you get the interview, then it's in your hands, it's in your control,
Can you say
somewhat.
that one more time for our listeners? All of you all who are corporate inspiration, you heard it here first from Abdullah, who is a mobile engineer at Instagram. Tell them about LinkedIn and then the possibilities, please.
Oh yeah, LinkedIn. I mean, it does change lives. Like you could reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, and you're not connected to them. You may have a mutual or two, but that could change your whole trajectory. The way that you utilize it and the way that I know you're all about it, Lovely. So yeah, I completely back it, and it's changed, but at the same time, at its core, it's still such a powerful tool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool for us who are powerhouses to use and change our career, to go from applying and then being reached out. I think that really helps to set the trajectory, because a lot of people are like, well, how did you get to Facebook? And it was the LinkedIn connection. I got a LinkedIn outreach from the recruiter. Shout out to my amazing recruiter, and he was like, hey, Facebook would love to have you. And I'm like, wait, Facebook? So then you're searching what people are searching for now. Like, how do I prep for a Facebook interview? What's the process? And you don't really understand it, but there are YouTube videos out there. There's courses like what I teach about how do you transition from a project manager to a product manager? How do I get into become a product manager? How do I use my LinkedIn right? Because Abdullah's LinkedIn profile, it is solid. He has some really great examples and things that he does. So how do I transition it so that way recruiters can reach out to me and I'm not lost within the weeds of other candidates? So I think that's incredible. So what was it that you like wanted to be when you grew up versus like now what you're doing as, as a mobile engineer?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Yeah, I think like what I wanted to be as like a kid. I feel like as a kid you just, you have such like your imagination is so, it's everywhere. You could like dream of anything. So like I wasn't really, my goal as a kid, and Lovely, you and I have talked about this, is like my goal was just to help my mom, like make sure she's good and everything. So I was like, whatever job I get, I just want to make sure that, she's taken care of. But I always like, love technology, love computers. We grew up in this generation where we kind of shifted towards like when the internet became a thing, and home computers. And I always saw like the people who would come in to my house, like fix our computer. I always thought that was so cool. And I was like, wow, they just like know and they could just fix the computer and like and fix your problem that you're having that's frustrating you so much. So I was like, okay, that would be really cool. Um, and then it wasn't until college is where I really got inspired by mobile apps and what they can do. So and it actually was there when I decided like, okay, I'm gonna go 100% mobile. Um, yeah. So I'd say that that's probably where it shifted. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and so you all did you hear that he said I wanted to help my mom and you have totally helped her. I have number one, I think I want to recognize like we're giving shout out to LinkedIn, but I really want to shout out Facebook. Like I have said this to you, Abdullah, when we were in the barbecue line, like man, we were in the
Oh
barbecue
yes.
line. Happy to see you. The world works here. Like Abdullah, could you share with people like where did you like what's your background? And then like for me, y'all know I'm just a Kansas girl and Abdullah became one of my biggest friends, but it happened because Facebook allows the world to work there. All these different people from like all these different nationalities and things work here together for one mission so that way you all can build connection. Those of you all who are looking at Facebook right now, who's watching LinkedIn or, on YouTube, people like us built these products so that way you can be here and get better and better and better. So, well, could you tell like people your background is?
Yeah, like I guess like my background in terms of like how I got there. Um, yeah, so pretty much, like I was saying before, I got inspired by mobile apps in college, and the way that happened was um, I was volunteering for a nonprofit. It was a nonprofit that like shipped medical supplies to different countries, and us volunteers we would go in every Friday and sort these supplies. And the way that they sorted supplies was not great. It was using a laptop and like using Google Sheets to like mark, okay, this is in this box. So I was like, okay, a mobile app could be so much like, help so much with this. And so that's why I like talk to like the nonprofit founders, and I'm like, hey, how what do you think about like mobile app? Like I'm studying this right now, and they were all for it. So in my senior year of college, I built that mobile app out, and they were able to use it, and the people who received the medical supplies, they were able to get all the data, like they knew what was in what box. So that honestly, that project, I didn't know at the time, but that changed my life because after that, I worked for like General Dynamics after just got a job after college. But the reason the recruiter also hit me up on LinkedIn, it was because they saw that project. They're like, oh, we saw that you built this app for a nonprofit, and I was like, wow, like I didn't know that was one of the main reasons that you all hit me up. Like I thought it was because I was a mobile engineer at General Dynamics, yada yada. But they, like you said, Lovely, like they love to see people, innovate and build things from scratch, like startups and everything. So yeah, and then so when I was able to get into Meta, definitely so thankful because like you and so many other people, we learned so much from being
You
there.
do, you
And I
do.
think, another thing that I learned is, I would have a lot of imposter syndrome, like, wow, like the smartest people in the world are building these things. But then when I
Yeah.
got in there, it all just goes back to like, working hard and understanding how the system works. And you can build these things too. So I was like, wow, like I'm actually building the things that I thought like only the smartest people could. So that gave me so much confidence
Yay.
that now I'm like trying to pour that confidence out to other people.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so
And
that's
he
that's
does,
the main
y'all.
thing.
He does. He makes it, I think our team, like we said, we were a small but mighty team. And I think everybody on our team really got that message of you belong here. There wasn't no, oh my gosh, it's an imposter syndrome. Like we were powerful. Like that's how I came up with like powerhouses because I just kept feeling like our team was doing so incredible in the various backgrounds. I mean, we had people from Pakistan and Kansas and Tijuana, and
Yeah,
it just made me smile so much. And I want to piggyback off of two things that you said. Number
yeah,
one, your nonprofit experience is so important. So if you all work for a nonprofit, it matters. The work that you all do matters. The things that you build for these small companies really, really take action, which is why I said we all are corporate inspirations. The things we build, whether we're the janitor or keeping the building clean, because Facebook campus, if you all ever get an opportunity to view it, it is beautiful. I mean, we've been to Austin campus, Seattle campus. Like I was trying to do a tour of all the Facebook campuses. They're beautiful. But
Oh yeah,
people are keeping them clean. People are, there's a facility team, there's a security team, y'all. They make sure that you like get in. But all of those people are important. It's our bus drivers who are doing things. Everybody loves to brag about, oh my God, Facebook, you get free food. But there are actual chefs who prepare our food and make sure things are good. They're a part of Facebook's story, and all of them deserves a spotlight. Not just us who are building the product, but it's
definitely.
those who are keeping us nourished and stuff, you know?
Absolutely. Totally agree. I think that's one thing everybody kind of agrees on as well, is that everyone's
Mm,
part of the same mission. And
yes.
that's the amazing thing too. And going back and touching on another thing that you mentioned about like
Mm,
just like everything that you do matters,
yes.
especially when you're working on like a nonprofit or anything that you might like you think you might not. It's your uniqueness that is what you need to kind of hone in on and sell. When you want to go in and get a job at XYZ company, your uniqueness, your story is the main thing. And Lovely, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say, what is your story? And I think, you know,
Okay, I don't want anybody to skip over that because I know we have people who are tuning in. Say this part one more time. I tell people that they're like, how the heck did you get a job at Facebook? How are you getting these things? Your story matters. Like
yeah,
our story between me and him, I was like, wait, what? And I connected with so many people, but me and Abdullah, like, he really became a brother of mine. And it just, every single time we're like, even I was telling him like, hey, I want to do this podcast. The first person I reached out to was like, Abdullah, would you be a guest? Like you are Instagram executive. Like I call everybody, if you're doing big things at any company, you are an executive, you're helping it run well. And he was like, sure. I was
well, likewise, and like, as you know, Lovely, I had started my own nonprofit, which, gives internships to college students, and we build mobile apps for other nonprofits. And that's exactly why, likewise, I came to you and I was like, I need really amazing people to be part of the board of directors. So it definitely goes both ways. And I'm like just so thankful for this relationship. So
yes. So I think what is important to everybody that I hope you all recognize, your coworkers could be lifelong connections. I haven't been at Facebook
yeah,
for 90 days, but Abdullah and I are still connected. We are still building those meaningful connections. He's a part of my company. I'm a part of his company. When I think of things, I'm literally thinking, okay, I was talking to somebody who lives in, I think the lady lives in like North Dakota, and she was like, yeah, I need help with my mobile. I was like, you got like this app is so important. Like it all came a part of the forefront of making sure that you know things, which is why in my recent Forbes article, I tell you all, don't be the best kept secret. Talk about things with your friends, share your insights, because you never know, you're connecting them to their lifelong mission. You're sharing those insights and things. So as you think about prepping for the interviews, I don't know about you, but I use my community. I was mock interviewing with them, like, hey, ask me this question. Facebook just posted a new question. Like, how do I answer this question? So building community is so important.
100%. And it kind of ties into what we were talking about like everything you do matters and every connection that you make matters. Like you'll find it surprising how amazing the ripple effect is when you just have respect for everybody around you and are able to communicate, and you're able to like build rapport with people, like whether it's somebody, like that's not part of your team, like that's anybody like you run into, you meet, it's going to make a difference. One story I have of that is specifically for my nonprofit. This is when we were first starting out. I was looking for other nonprofits to try to build an app for. I got really close with one of my coworkers. He amazing individual. He was working at the culinary department at Meta, and so I would always see him at lunchtime every day. We would talk every day. And I told him about my nonprofit. I was like, hey, I'm looking for nonprofits. And he was a founder of a nonprofit. He found this nonprofit that has resources for, homeless people and at-risk youth in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he told me about it, and he was like, actually, we would benefit so much from an app. So then we worked together, and that was the first client for my nonprofit. And so,
From a lunch line, like what?
And it's, that's what it goes back to. Like you talk to, you build rapport with people. You never know how they're going to repay you. And just being kind, I think that's going to help. And it always comes back to you. So yeah.
Yes, being kind. So one of the questions that I shared with you is like one of the most asked questions that people want to know as they're prepping and becoming things forward is, what would you feel like is a crucial skill for a mobile engineer? Because for those of you all who are listening who may not be aware of a software engineer, a mobile engineer is sort of like a niche of the software engineer. And so a lot of people want to know, okay, yeah, I don't just want to be a software engineer, but I want to be for mobile. As we talked about, mobile apps is like so crucial. It's running the world. So I want to have those particular skill sets. I need those things. So are there certain aspects that you could be able to share with those who are not even just looking for Facebook, but like just a career in general of becoming a mobile engineer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like there's, like you said, there's different segments of software engineering. Mobile engineering specifically is what I can speak to. And so to be skilled in as a mobile app engineer, you have to know at least one of the different native languages. So when I say native, I mean iOS or Android. So iOS is Swift. If you know the language Swift UI, these things are going to help. Like if you practice Swift and like build small apps, obviously, there's lots of YouTube videos. And then for Android, it's Kotlin and Java. And then there's also other mobile, solutions that build out for both, like React Native. That's actually a Facebook language that they created. So React Native is really good. Flutter, and there's a few others I'm forgetting. But yeah, like there's multiple ways to get your foot in the door and like to understand to build these skills in mobile engineering. But native development, like iOS native, Android native, is very sought after because a lot of these larger companies, they hire native developers. A lot of the cross-platform solutions, like I mentioned, where you can build for both, they're still good because you understand both. But I'd say like focusing on native, like Swift for iOS and Kotlin for Android, that would be the best. And another thing I think that people don't do that I wish they would is building a simple app and putting it on the App Store, putting it on the Play Store.
Right.
And I think like,
or join the Code for community if you are looking.
Shameless plug, or join our organization and build a product, make a real difference for a nonprofit, and see that flourish. So you can point to like the App Store and be like, hey, oh yeah, I built that, and it's helping people. So definitely.
And it helps you too, because him and I were talking about like, guys, this is the 10th episode. And I was telling him, I was like, oh my gosh, like I did this podcast, and literally when I first started, it was just like me. And now I have like this whole overlay and then all these amazing things. So you start small. Like even the greatest was once a beginner. I tell you all that with Muhammad Ali, like even the greatest was once a beginner. Facebook was not this big giant. Instagram was not this big giant of like notes and being able to go live, but it was just one small step. So having that experience and seeing that it worked. But also, what I love about Facebook that I felt like was really good with our team, we actually got to hear directly from the customers. Like, we were able
Yeah.
to know, like, we did this impact, and hearing that from the nonprofit, they are very, very vocal. They will be able to say, like, this got this many resources, and it's great to put on your LinkedIn profile. Like, no better way of being able to say, like, hey, I did something that mattered while you're also learning. So truly, we're saying co for community because we both are part of this dynamic organization. But it is a great way because I know for myself earlier in my career, people wanted to hire me, but then they were like, well, you must have the 2 years of experience. And I'm like, well, no, 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 crap. Like, I know I need the experience, but in order to get the experience, I need to get the experience. So if you're looking for things where you can get the experience, this is a great place to do it. And you're building, you're learning, you're understanding, okay, how did this work for Android? And why did it look this way for iOS? And how can we make this better? Oh, and iOS has this rule. So I strongly encourage you to connect with non-for-profits because they are really, really a great way to help you to learn and build and grow.
Absolutely. I think that's part of our core mission as well, because we have all of those. We have positions for interns, software engineering interns, design interns, PM interns, mentors for industry professionals who want to become better mentors, and product leaders who want to lead the entire project. We're offering all of that. We offer like training, and we get mentors from the best companies to teach you like the best standards. So the nonprofit gets the best product that they can get for virtually for free. And for the interns and the mentors, they get top-notch learning and guidance and mentorship. So that's our
Yeah.
goal. Yeah,
Absolutely. I feel like it goes back to you want a purpose-driven career, and that really gives you that purpose-driven aspect of it. So kudos, kudos, kudos. So one of the questions that I have, because you and I were smiling, it's great, but it is Q4. It is Q4, ladies and gentlemen. It is the most stressful time, not only at Facebook, but for a lot of companies. We're planning, we're trying to figure out how do we get better for the next year. So, in times like this, what is a quote that you use to help you to push forward, to get past the stressors in the day to day? Like, what's something that helps you, move forward?
yeah, I think that's a great question. Especially, generally when you're reflecting upon a year and like, you're coming into the new year, I think people kind of do this naturally. But for me, I always go back to like, what's my why? Like, what is my why? Why do I want to, you know, improve certain metrics on Instagram, or like, the work that I'm doing now, but like also for the nonprofit, like go back to base camp. It's like, okay, why am I doing this? Why does this matter? And what impact will it have? So I think like when it comes to end of the year, I ask myself that. I reflect on everything that's gone, we've done in the past year. And then I like, setting goals for next year. It kind of just, I keep that question in mind so that, it keeps you kind of grounded and you understand like the core value of like what you're doing and why you're doing it. So that's what.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. And I think right now, one of the things that is helping me is a quote called, it says, it's you versus you every day. Always have been and always will be.
That.
And as you talked about us ramping up, I think we're always like, oh my God, I didn't do this, but it's you versus you. Every single day, it's you versus you. So if I get 1% better than I was 30 days ago, then I'm a 1% better me. And most times I try to get better 1% every single day, 1% better. And like, oh, hey, I need this for the podcast. Or we were even talking before we connected, like, how can we be better by serving as the board of directors and things that I'm learning by helping other nonprofits that we could implement into ours to help us to learn and grow so we can be more cohesive and get the best talents and help these not-for-profits that that ultimately lead to these people getting their own calls from not just Facebook, but there's Calendly, there's Restream, the platform we're using now. There's multi-billion-dollar companies that are being built up every day. And it starts with you, but at first, helps with that competition. So I think that you honing in on you all, it's the end of the year. People may be feeling like I didn't accomplish what I wanted to do. It's you versus you. It's you
Yeah.
versus you. That's what you all like need to remember. So on the Powerhouses of the Global Corporate Stage podcast, we always ask our previous guests to ask a question for our next guest. And this one, I'm
Ah,
like really excited for you to answer. So it says that you have $5 million cash versus $5 million in gift cards. Which do you choose? Success or significance? Which do you choose? The $5 million in cash or the $5 million in gift cards? What do you all choose?
wow, that's an interesting one. Um, I mean, I guess I'd have to take the $5 million in cash, just because I think like just the versatility of it. Like I'll be able to put that money in different places, um, invest in not of myself, but like my nonprofit and everything. But I think gift cards would be cool too. But I think it's just more about like versatility and like being able to put that different. But that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, oh, when I first heard cash, I'll take the
Yeah,
cash.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Stuff like gift cards, I'm like, okay, it's this time of year, so I could do a gift cards for like the person who drives my kid's bus, like just
Oh
saying thank
yeah,
you for bringing my kids home safely every day. It's to my kids' teachers, it was like that I was thinking about, but in terms of cash, when, as you stated, you're able to do a lot more good. Like we were talking about stocks and all
yeah,
of the great things that are going up. If I invested in stocks and then that 5 million then turns into 25 million that I can then help more and more people with, then
right,
which is a better thing. Like it's not necessarily that it's a success piece. It's a, hey, I'm significantly able to do better. And that's what Facebook a lot was about. Like, hey, what's your impact? How can you be able to impact the most people? And I think to me, to your point, like it's the 5 million cash that I could be able to do. So I'm glad to see like that I'm not alone. But what would you all choose? Like, please put in the comments. Are we doing cash or the gift cards? And like, what would you do with it? Like, I really want to know. So now it's your turn to ask our next guest. Like, what would your question be to our next guest?
that's an interesting one. I got to think of a good one because like that 5 million cash and gift cards. Um, let's see. So I'd say, you know, imagine everything that you have right now,
Mhm.
uh, everything that or everything you have right now is stripped away, and
Mm,
you're alone. You have no resources. You have nothing else.
yeah.
Um, like, where do you go from there? What do you do?
Ooh,
And
where
I
do you go from here?
and I just
Wow,
want to
and a lot of people have had that. Like, I mean, we've been Abdullah and I have shared some messages like, "Ooh, it's layoffs. Ooh, are you all right? Are you good? Did you get the email? Like, oh,
yeah,
what do we do if we lose our job because of layoffs?" So yeah, a lot of people are going through that. It's a good
yeah,
one.
and a lot of people haven't gone through it. So like,
Yeah.
some people are more fortunate than others, and
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, how do I prep for that? I love that
yeah,
question. I love that question. So you all heard it here first. Like, what do you do to go next? So where do you go from here? Abdullah, it was so amazing to have you on our podcast. He truly is a powerhouse, you all. So if you ever ask yourself, how can I come back from being rejected from Google, Facebook, Twitter, or any company? I hope that you got the answer here. If your question was, how do I prepare for a FAANG engineer interview? What's the difference between getting the skills for a software engineer versus a mobile engineer? All of your questions, you all had so many, but how can people like just reach out to you if they want to become an intern, if they want to be a mentor, or just, want to follow you because you're an incredible individual?
Yeah, definitely LinkedIn. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I respond to everybody. And yeah, happy to talk to anyone. Yeah, happy to help in any way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And as you all know, I'm Lovely Marshall, the accelerator for Powerhouses. You can reach me at all social media platforms: LinkedIn, TikTok, Google, Facebook, at I am Lovely Marshall. I hope that you all got from this is that you all matter, and what you all have to offer this world also matters. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in next time for our next guest. I'm like so excited. And if you all want to hear from more people, like I don't want to just bring my Facebook friends and Google friends. I invite nurses, I invite lawyers. There's so many people who I'm connected to, teachers. We had a correctional officer on here. Like all of you all story matters, not us just because we worked at Facebook. Like all of you all, the world deserves to hear you all story. And so we want to do it on the Power